All right. I guess we can start now, 2 minutes after the start that we have announced. Probably others will join who didn't manage exactly for the time. Hello, ladies and gentlemen, dear Connect Nordic members and friends, dear UN Global Compact members. I'm very pleased to welcome you today at our webinar, Sustainability, the Winning Strategy, the Swedish Business Perspective. Our goal today is to draw your attention at some practical sustainability advice and some ESG practices coming directly from the Swedish and Bulgarian market and from Swedish and Bulgarian enterprises. My name is Neda Hitsova, and I'm a founding member of Connect Nordics. I'll be the moderator today of this event. Connect Nordics, as a Connect Nordics community, together with the UN Global Compact Bulgaria and with the UN Global Compact Sweden, we have organized this event. And thank you very much to our partners from UN Global Compact for supporting us for this event and for making it happen. Also, we have a special guest, a key speaker. We have Karin Svensson from Volvo Group, Chief Sustainability Officer. So thank you very much, Karin, also for joining today and for the ability to share some key perspectives from Volvo Group and also from the fossil-free sustainability strategy of Volvo. We also have, of course, the perspective from the Bulgarian business, and this is going to be shared by Telelink Services, Daniela Sokolova, Sustainability Director, Manager GRC at Telelink Services, and also by Iskra Yovkova, who is a very active member of our Connect Nordics community, and is also founding member and managing director of EU Impact. So we have prepared a very exciting agenda. So I would encourage you all to stay until the end with us, as we would also open after the speech of Vide Richter and Karin Svensson, a session for questions and answers. So you will be able also to ask some questions directly to our Swedish partners. And of course, at the end, there is going to be another session for Q&A and closing. So thank you very much for joining us today. And I would give now the floor to Darinka Georgieva, who is also leading the UN Global Compact Bulgaria practice. She's an executive director. Darinka, please, the floor is yours.
Hello, Neda. Hello, colleagues from Bulgaria, Sweden, and maybe other European countries. My name is Darinka Georgieva, and it's my pleasure to welcome you today on our webinar and to make the bridge between the two countries. Currently, Connect Nordics actually was the one who gave the idea, but also the Bulgarian network and the Swedish network are really trying to connect the businesses, and in one of the currently the biggest sustainability initiatives, the UN Global Compact. It is also not only the biggest initiative, but the most active and the one that really sets very high ambition. And why we are together? Because we are all in Europe, we share common risks and common opportunities, but also regulations and ambitions a lot of problems, I guess, all the companies are having, like biodiversity losses, pollutions, overconsumption we have in some countries. Currently, the legislative pressure is coming, polarization, skepticism, threats to democracy, for example, labor and human rights, which are some of the pillars of the Global Compact. But at the same time, we are also very united by the shared responsibility, goodwill, innovations, ambitions, investments, care, and humanity. You may notice that I mentioned ambitions several times. This is actually one of the uniting power of the Global Compact, of the one Global Compact that truly operates to bridge and to support companies in their transition to sustainable business models and to accelerate change also in the sustainable development goals. We are quite a big society. We have in Europe only 20 plus networks with about 10,000 probably companies, between 9 and 10,000, and a lot of dedicated teams. So all this community makes the sustainability journey possible, and we are here together to want to be inspired. Why we actually started these conversations with Sweden, because we recently found that findings from the GlobeScan Sustainable Leaders report show that Sweden is recognized by experts as the leading government when it comes to advancing sustainable development. And also UN Global Compact Network Sweden is not only the largest sustainability network, but it consists really of about 600 members and is working very actively on the field. And we do have a lot to share and to learn together. And today we will really hear the Swedish, the Bulgarian perspective, and how we can advance sustainability in the companies, but as a winning business strategy. And it's really very curious to hear all the speakers today, but I give the floor to Neda and to the next speaker.
Thank you very much, Darinka. And again, thank you for organizing this event together with us. Now I will give the floor to Karin Svensson, Chief Sustainability Officer in Volvo Group, to share some practical advice and real examples from Volvo Group, which is a huge enterprise. So Karin, please go ahead, and I will share in the meanwhile the presentation.
Thank you so much, Nida, and thanks for the invite to talk here today. We're all gathered here, I guess, today because we have all understood something very crucial. We have understood that sustainability is not just a goal for companies, it's also a winning formula in many ways. We have a chance now, not only to preserve what we already know, but actually to create some different opportunities. I think this whole transition that we're into, no matter what business we're talking about, but the transition into more sustainable solutions is something that can create both jobs, it can create growth, but it can also improve the daily lives of people all around the world. And as the Volvo Group, we of course support the Paris Climate Agreement, but we also support Sweden's ambition to become climate neutral by 2045 at the latest. As a company, we aim really to be at the forefront. We want to be an early mover, and we want to show that we can reduce the environmental impact. We can improve people's lives while still maintaining economic growth. But how to do that? And that's a little bit what I would like to talk to you about today. So my name is Karin, and I'm representing the Volvo Group. And maybe we can take the next slide. Let's see. Yes, great. So the Volvo Group, I guess many of you know us. We are one of the world's largest manufacturers of commercial vehicles. That means trucks, buses, construction equipment, and engine. Not to be confused with Volvo Cars. We sold Volvo Cars approximately 25 years ago. We are today present in 190 markets where we sell our solutions and products, so more or less in every country in the world. We are, and you can take the next one, I think. We are actually more than 100,000 employees in 55 countries, and we produce in 18 countries. If you take the next one. So in the Volvo Group, we have worked with sustainability for many, many years, and we don't see it only as a compliance issue. We see it very much as a business opportunity. Transportation and infrastructure, that is, of course, something that is crucial to any society as we know it today. And transportation and the need for it is actually growing. We know because of urbanization, because of e-commerce and a growing middle class, we will need more and more transportation, both of goods and peoples going forward. That is, of course, great for business if you're like a company like the Volvo Group, but it also has some issues as transportation is one of the major emitters of greenhouse gas emissions. So all the solutions need to be substantially more sustainable than they are today. So therefore, we have as an ambition to be 100% safe, 100% fossil-free, and 100% more productive going forward. We have a sustainability strategy that's built on climate, resources, and people, where we strive really to minimize the climate footprint, to respect the planetary boundaries, and to maximize our social impact. I think we can take the next one. So let me talk a little bit about our journey then towards net zero. We have promised and committed to become net zero by 2040, and that is throughout the value chain. Already in 2020, we committed to the Science Based Targets initiative. That means, as I said before, that we're aligned with the Paris Climate Agreement and the 1.5 pathway. But to be able to fulfill this very ambitious promise, we of course need to know where our emission comes from. And in the case of the Volvo Group, actually more than 95% of the emission comes from when our products are being used. That means when our trucks are out on the road or the construction equipments are working in the different sites. 4% of the emission comes from upstream from the supply chain and the materials and the components that goes into the vehicles, and less than 1% actually comes from our own operations or the energy that we purchase. Then to take down the emissions to zero, we have set interim targets, of course, for 2030, and we have different activities in these three buckets. And I thought I would share a little bit what we think are the main things we can do to decrease emissions in these three parts. So if we start then with downstream and the products in use, we have what we call a three-pronged approach. That means that we think there will be a need for battery electric vehicles, fuel cell electric vehicles, and the vehicles with the internal combustion engine, but then filled with something else than diesel. It could be biofuel, hydrogen, or different types of e-fuels. Of course, electrification is really the key in this part, and electrification is not something new for us. We have been delivering and selling electric buses for more than 10 years. Today, the Volvo Group has a full lineup of electric trucks. Only this year, we have actually added 2 new models of fully electric trucks, and next year we will come with a solution that can drive, that has a range up to 600 kilometers. Also on the construction equipment side, we have many models being electrified and being delivered to customers as we speak. So the technology is really there to decarbonize on the downstream side. And I'll come back a little bit to why we are not seeing so many results as of today in this field. If we then move to the upstream part and the materials and components that goes into our vehicles, today, that's approximately 4% of the emissions, but moving forward, that will be more and more as we take down the emissions from the vehicles. Also here, we need to start to look into the materials and components that have the biggest impact. And For a truck or a bus, that's steel, it's aluminium, it's polymers, it's electronics, and it's batteries. As a truck, for example, if you look upon the weight of a truck, approximately 70% of the weight of a truck comes from steel. So that's, of course, crucial to decarbonize. And I'll come back a little bit to that also a little bit later on. A very central function when it comes to decarbonizing upstream emissions, that's our purchasing function. So we work very closely between the R&D and technology side and our purchasing function. And of course, we work very, very closely with the supply partners. We have around 50,000 tier 1 suppliers. And of course, we put different requirements on those suppliers, and they in their turn have to put requirements on their supplies, etc. So it's a long chain of requirements and partnership that needs to happen in order for us to decarbonize. We purchase goods and services worth around $36 billion every year. So you can understand it's quite a big amount of goods and services that needs to be decarbonized. We have what we call a supplier partner code of conduct that we use towards our suppliers, where we have two sets of requirements, you could say. We have the strict requirements that this is what we actually are requiring from our suppliers when it comes to climate, resource, people, and business ethics. But we also have something that we call aspirations, where we would like to push our suppliers to go a bit further when it comes to sustainability. Then in the last part, then in our own operations, we're of course working also with that, even though it's a small part of our footprint. And here we are working on energy efficiency activities, but we're also working to change from into renewable energy in all the sites where it is possible. I think it could also be worth mentioning the role of data in our decarbonization journey, because data will be crucial in many ways. Data will be crucial in order to understand or to support solutions, actually to decarbonize new types of services, or data to understand how to plan your routes, etc. But data will also be crucial in understanding our performance, to measure our performance in different ways. So that's something that we are working a lot with also. You can take the next one. And then I would like to move in a little bit to how actually this transformation is going right now. And I think, as many of you recognize, the transformation is very, very complex, and it's not moving as quickly as maybe we would have hoped due to many reasons. I think that what we see is that this whole transformation really requires a system perspective. We need to have an ecosystem that moves in sync. We need to have an ecosystem that moves also at the same time. So as an example then, today, as I said, we have a full lineup of electric trucks available to be sold. So the supply of technology is really there, but we don't see demand in the same way. So our customers are not fully ready, and there are many reasons for that. One being, for example, that the cost for the operator must be on par with other options, and it's not today. You could say that to drive on diesel is actually far too cheap in order for our customers to have an incentive really to move into electrified or other types of more environmentally friendly solutions. So that is something that we're working quite a lot with to discuss with policymakers on how we could change that, and what kind of incentives or taxes that we think would work in order to make sure that the cost will come on par. The other thing that is missing or lacking for our customers is really charging infrastructure. Today, there are very few public charging stations for trucks, which makes it difficult for our customers to understand how to use the trucks in real operation if they don't know where to charge them. And then the last thing is really access to fossil-free energy. It's not much use to drive an electric truck unless you can charge it with fossil-free energy. And there we see in many countries around the world that we don't have enough of either renewable or fossil-free energy. And if we have it, it might not be in the right place, and that we don't have the grid capacity. So all of these things needs to work in sync, and otherwise the system won't, or the transition won't take place. One way really of making sure that we get the ecosystem in sync is to work in partnership. To work in partnership, you need to be willing to share risk, and you need to be willing to be much more transparent. And I thought I could just mention a couple of partnerships that we have been working in really to accelerate the transformation. One of them being a pioneering partnership with the Swedish steel manufacturer SSAB. SSAB had some years ago an idea about how to do fossil-free steel. And as you remember, I said that steel is one of the major ingredients, so to say, in a truck. And we had this need to decarbonize steel. And so they had a solution, we had a problem, and we put together a partnership where we weren't sure exactly how we would end up. But because we were willing to share these risks, because we were willing to be transparent, quite quickly we're actually able to do a prototype in fossil-free steel, and only quite short after that, in 2022, we delivered the first fossil-free vehicle to a customer, which was an articulated hauler in 2022. And today we are proud to be the first truck brand really to use large quantities of low emission steel in the vehicles that we sell. So I think that's a good example of how we could work together. And we are now expanding these types of partnerships also to other materials, for example, for recycled plastics or aluminium. But we will need more partnerships also with other types of players across industries, within the industry, with customers, with suppliers, with policymakers, and even actually with our competitors. So I could mention two of the partnerships that we've had with competitors. One being because this transition is so complex and it's so costly and it takes so much time and the challenges are so huge. So we actually decided to partner with Daimler Truck some years ago to work together on in a joint venture on fuel cell development, which is something quite difficult. And we have also initiated a partnership or a joint venture with the two main competitors of the Volvo Group, which is Traton and Daimler Truck, really to build charging infrastructure to make sure that we have the prerequisites in place for the transition to happen. So we have decided to build 1,700 charging points all through Europe, and this is sort of a way to help ourselves in this transition. So I think just to conclude, we are just in the beginning of this transformation journey, and I think it's important to see that the path to net zero and to sustainable transportation, then in our case, isn't just a challenge, it's also a very good opportunity, not the least from a business perspective. It might not happen as quickly as we would have hoped, but I'm sure that we will be able to redefine transportation. We will be absolutely possible to make it cleaner, to make it safer, and to make it more connected than ever. But that will require something more than just individual effort. It will require a unified approach, and it calls for partnership, it calls for creativity and commitment from all of us. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Karin. This was really impressive to share your strategy on such a global scale, and it is in practice already. And also thank you very much for sharing the challenges, as this is also very important for everyone going into this direction, to know that, yeah, it's all about the ecosystem and for all players that are related within the supply chain. And I think this is also very important here for our Bulgarian listeners today, the Connect Nordic members, and also the UN Global Compact members. to understand that, especially for those who would like to address the Swedish market, that they should be prepared and they should consider very seriously all these sustainable initiatives that are coming from the market and from global leaders like Volvo Group. So for everyone, please stay tuned. We have one more presentation from Sweden, from Vide Richter, who is the head of strategic partnerships in UN Global Compact Sweden. And then we are going to open the floor for some questions. So Vide, please go ahead. You can share your slides.
Just unmute myself as well. Okay, good. So now we have heard a great presentation from Karin, and Volvo Group, of course, is a very large company in Sweden and also a very ambitious company in terms of sustainability. But then I want to add the context, like how does the general business in Sweden look at sustainability? And we did survey last spring where we did ask a lot of questions about sustainability to Swedish business. So I will go into that very soon. First, I just want to introduce us at UN Global Compact very quickly. UN Global Compact is an old sustainability initiative now, or old everything, it depends on what you count with, but it was formed in 2020. And really, it was Kofi Annan that was General Secretary at that time that said that UN and business need to go together and agree what is a responsible business. And so to give shared values and principles that would give a human face to the global market. And said and done in 2020, UN Global Compact was formed with 40 businesses and the UN. Volvo Group was actually also one of the very early joiners in 2001. And it was these 10 principles that we are still using, that new members still have to sign up to. And really what they are all about is how you should act to be a responsible business. A lot of business actually have this in their code of conduct or in similar documents. And you can see how they are written. It says, for example, Principle 1, business should support and respect the protection of internationally proclaimed human rights. But it's also Principle 5, remove any form of child labor and so on. So it really tells you a baseline of how to be responsible, and we still believe this is very important. Then, of course, in 2015, we had the global goals and the Paris Agreement. And we also work with this, of course, as a UN organization, and we do believe these are also super relevant for business. They are agreed by all governments in the world as a unified vision for sustainable development. But for us, it's also important to say they don't replace the 10 principles. We believe the 10 principles tell you how to act, while the global goals tell you targets you can work towards and help the world achieve. An example for this could be that you produce solar panels. Of course, you're contributing to goal 7, affordable and clean energy, and that is really great, but still you have to make sure your supply chain doesn't have any child labor or forced labor if you're going to be a responsible company. And this is also the way to make sure that you actually contribute to the general global goals again, than just not a targeted goal by following the 10 principles. Today, UN Global Compact is a much larger initiative than the 40 first companies, with over 23,000 companies. And as Dabrinka said, there is local networks in quite a few countries, including, of course, both Sweden and Bulgaria. And in Sweden, we have almost 600 members now. And we also have all the members of the OMX Stockholm 30, which is the most traded companies in Sweden. And we have slightly more large companies than small companies, but we have both sizes and all industries. Let's get into the survey. So we did the survey in the spring, so it's still quite fresh. And we did it together with Ipsos. Ipsos is a surveying company, and we used their database of companies. So we didn't only ask UNGC participants, which might be skewed to being more sustainable companies than the average company. We have a really strong representation of the large Swedish companies in this survey. A few hundred of them answered, and there is only 1,200 something of this. It's much harder to get a good representation of all the small companies. There is over 40,000 small companies in Sweden. But even though we can't reach so many of those 40,000, we think this gives a good overview of Swedish business overall, as the large companies also have more influence, and they also influence the small companies. So let's start. Why do Swedish companies work with sustainability? Well, the first answer that we got was actually that it aligns with our business goals, visions, and values. Apparently having some problems with the numbers right now. I don't know why. There is about 72% of the companies that answered this. And all of this that I'm showing now, they are about 70-60%. So laws and regulations are also something that was seen as important. Of course, we have a lot of EU regulation coming up right now, and this was also over 70%. And this one, to be competitive, was 68%. And I think this speaks a lot to what Karin said earlier. Swedish businesses, of course, people want to be, and business are led by people, want to be responsible because you want to do the right thing. But Swedish business also see sustainability as something that is related to their competitiveness and the ability to do business. So 68% answered this, and I think we can see it also in how Swedish business act. We also have, of course, brand, and we can see it again later. We have attract, motivate, and retain personnel. A lot of business know that young talent are interested in sustainability, but also, of course, not only young, but every talent. So this is also a factor. And we have brand again. And of course, to meet the expectations of consumers, users, or members. Now we're down at about 54%. And I know some businesses are still a bit disappointed about consumer demand, while other businesses see a lot of consumer demand. It also depends a bit on which industry you're working in. Industry standards. Of course, when all companies start working on this, you kind of have to keep up with your peers. And then lastly, I just wanted to show now we're down at 46% to make a concrete positive impact within an area. And of course, this is, as I said, still important, but it really shows that it comes this far down, that Swedish business also work with sustainability for business reasons and not only to feel good. So let's see and go forward. How well integrated is sustainability in Swedish business? So we asked about how well integrated Swedish or sustainability is in different areas of Swedish business. So first, if we start in the vision, strategy, and goals, and also the government documents and policies, we can see that almost all companies have integrated either fully or partially sustainability in this kind of core parts of their business plan. And continuing with business development and reporting and follow-up, we can see also in other parts of like governing the business, we have really high representation of integrating sustainability. We can continue with communication, both external and internal communication. It's either partially integrated or fully integrated for most. And then development of new products, we're starting to get more partially integrated, but still it's something that Swedish business in general look at. Supply chain. very important, of course, if you want to work with a Swedish business, if you want to sell to a Swedish business, you're going to be a part of the supply chain. And you can see that it's not so many that says it's fully integrated, but a very large share, like 85% of all answered companies. And now we have to remember that more than half of those who answered were even small and medium-sized companies, say they have included sustainability either fully or partially in their purchasing. And I think that's something that you will see if you want to partner with a Swedish business. They will have some demands, and they will ask for your plans and your reporting and so on. And then the last three, budget, process, also quite a lot that have started integrating it in when they're doing their budget, but financing and loans and financial incentives or bonuses for employees, that's still quite not so common. Financing and loans, I know, is also very industry dependent. Some industries have a lot of green bonds and SDG bonds, for example, real estate, but other areas don't maybe have financing so much based on sustainability yet. Also, if we just look at the different types or the different areas of sustainability, we can say that environmental issues are the one where Swedish companies feel that they are working with it the most. And to a very large extent, it's quite many companies, but to a fairly large extent and to a very large extent as well, also over 80%. And of the others, still they do it a little bit. Labor rights, also a lot, even if a little bit less. Human rights is actually significantly fewer that works with that. And I also know this is probably affected in part by a lot of companies that are only active in Sweden. They might see this as less important to work directly with because following the Swedish laws, you will usually comply quite well with this. And anti-corruption, we can see like this as well. So I will say, likely if you work with a large, ambitious companies like Volvo Group, you will have to work with all these different areas. But even if you work with a smaller company, you will see them ask you things about environmental issues and other areas quite often as well. We have seen a lot of large crises in the world in the last few years. We had the COVID pandemic. We have had wars in Europe and the other places. We have seen energy crisis or energy price crisis in Europe, inflation. So we asked companies how have this affected how you work with sustainability, and the companies in general said yes in some way. Very few said it didn't affect them in any shape or form. But when we go into the answers, there is quite a few companies that said it have forced them to lower their prioritization. And you can see it's more of the small and medium-sized companies that have said this. But actually, there's quite a lot of companies that have said the opposite. And if you go to the large companies, there is actually more companies that say that they've higher their prioritization of sustainability. And we can see that probably as an effect that this crisis have really shown the interdependence of the world, and that sustainability is really, I mean, a lot about taking responsibility also outside of your own business parameters. And to do good business, you need to kind of have also context to work within. So I think this shows that especially large companies might have seen a higher prioritization when they have seen that also these crises do affect them to a large extent. And then we had other answers. I decided to group them. This was like a change in sustainability strategy or other types of changes that were not higher or lower prioritization. We also asked, and I think this is the last question I'm showing, what will drive Swedish companies in their sustainability work in the future, what they believe basically in the 5 coming years. And then they believe demand from customers and consumers will be a driver. A lot of companies are both hoping and thinking that consumers will increase their demand for sustainable products. Political decisions at the EU level, I think this is probably all the laws that are coming from EU right now. Investors and owners is also a popular answer. Political decisions at the government level, and then we're talking about the Swedish government. We can see that business in Sweden are expecting more action from EU than the Swedish government, but still action from the Swedish government as well. And then technological innovations, quite a few that answer that, but not quite as many as the others. People don't necessarily believe public opinion will drive it as much as the others, and not employees either. But yeah, that was all the data. Let's summarize this to some key takeaways I think you should take from this. Nearly all Swedish companies have integrated sustainability into core strategy and governance and business goals and so on. And sustainability is seen as business critical. It's not only driven by the need to feel good, but by competitiveness, both on the local market, but also on the global market, talent attraction, and of course, also regulation, especially, I think, have risen up in the last years as EU has really stepped on the gas in terms of sustainability regulation. Global crises have impacted things, but not only that people have prioritized less, but also more, and large companies have prioritized more. Swedish business expect sustainability to be driven mainly by consumer demand and future regulations. And with all this said and done, I think if you are wanting to partner with Swedish business, you will need to have a focus on sustainability, to have a strategy, and to also, I think, collect data might be a key part to look at, for example, climate data on your products and so on, as a lot of Swedish business will ask for that. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Vide. This was really great to share these insights. That was so interesting survey that you have made. And again, one thing maybe for our guests to remember really is this #1 priority for the Swedish companies. It's within their strategy and within their values. And I would really emphasize on this, because this is the Swedish and the Nordics way of thinking. And we know actually that the Nordics market has been the first to obtain and to start looking into these sustainability strategies. And of course, it's coming now to all the European countries with the regulations, with the requests from the big production companies and supply chains. But yes, I would really like to, thank you for sharing this, because it's really important fact. Okay, so now I would like to invite you all, if you have some questions to our Swedish guests, to Karin and to Vide, please feel free to switch on your camera and mic and ask a question.
Hello, maybe I can start if that's okay.
Hello.
Thank you both for the very interesting presentations. It's always a pleasure to hear another perspective, especially from some knowledgeable experts. My question is actually for Karin Svensson. Once again, thank you for the presentation. It was very interesting to hear from you. we are facing, my name is Ivana Svetkova, I'm from the Global Compact Network Bulgaria, and obviously we're having a lot of discussions with companies, and what we see here is that there is you know, people are afraid to take bold steps, especially to go further sometimes than the legislation is. And I can see that you have taken some really bold steps, including going into partnerships with your competitors in order to achieve your goals, especially in the long term. So what would you say to the businesses that are compliant but are afraid to take that extra step, especially in environments where there isn't enough support from the state, from the government, from, you know, infrastructure, as it is in your case, where a lot of factors need to come together? What would you say to them? Thank you.
It's a great question, and of course, I come from a company, quite a large company, and I think in our case, what has been really, really crucial is that we have had top management commitment. I think certain things you can calculate to say, you know, this is going to be so much of a business opportunity, or this is the way it's going to play out. But I think it also requires some guts and some bold decisions from a management that actually do believe in this. And for us, and I think Vide's presentation also showed that for us, the whole journey into sustainability fits very well with the values of the Volvo Group. But of course, you also need to be able to calculate this from a business perspective. You can't just do it to be nice, so to say. And I think something that has helped us is to really understand what are the sustainability issues that are important for us as a company. So we have done what is called a materiality assessment, or what is really the important questions for a company to look into. And I think that could be different for different companies, but really to understand where you have your biggest impacts, but also where you as a company have your biggest risks and opportunities. I think that is something that could speak to management when you are looking into where really to focus your activities and to start in those areas. So you should start really where you either can have a big impact or where you have a big opportunity or potentially a risk then to manage. That would be one of my advices, at least.
Then if you let me ask a question as well. My name is Goate, and I'm from Connect Nordics platform or community. My question is actually to Vida and Karin, to both of you, and it is, what do you think from companies' perspectives, but also from more general perspective, from Vida's also experience, what would be the next immediate step that should be undertaken in order to further evaluate the sustainability journey of Swedish companies or of Volvo? What would be the next steps for you?
Do you want to start, Vida?
Yeah, that's a great question. Of course, it depends a lot on the companies, which company it is. So I think Karin, your answer will be interesting too. But if I speak from a general perspective, I think there is the main trend I see is that really broadening the scope, that climate has been in some cases very much the main or the only focus in sustainability for some companies, and now you have to look broader than that. Of course, social sustainability is a focus that I think a lot of companies will increase on, especially if they have suppliers from like developing countries and so on, or sells to developing countries. Also within environment, I think we will see and are already seeing companies look more into other environmental issues, such as biodiversity especially, but also maybe water issues and so on.
Yeah, I fully agree with you, Vida. I think a broadening of the concept of sustainability is really what we see. I think for us, we see the social sustainability is coming quickly, both because we see more pressure actually from on companies to take responsibility, both from a legislative perspective, but also because there are so many things that is not working completely correct in the world right now. Also on nature and biodiversity, we see at least that we have more questions on that. I think it's still a little bit too early to say exactly how our company can impact biodiversity or how we will be impacted by it, but I see that too. I also see that something that we are working more and more with is this whole complexity of actually accelerating the transition. So to work more with the dependencies of the system, because it's one thing to solve these things from a technical perspective, so to say, but it's another thing really to get the system to work. So that's also something I think you can be super focused on a specific topic, but in the end it all has to work together, and that's that's partly what I guess what you mean also with the broadening, Vida, but that's will be important as a next step for us at least.
Thank you very much.
Do we have some more questions from our guests?
I have one question to Vida. Vida, I noticed in the data that all the companies from the Swedish Stock Exchange are part of the Global Compact. Why is this very good union? How have you achieved it? And what are the benefits actually for the companies to be involved?
So I think I mean we have not had like a specific focus on the OMXS30. So in a sense, you could say it's happenstance, but of course I think it shows in a way that sustainability has been a core area for large Swedish business for a long time. Also, a lot of those large companies have been members for a really long time, such as Volvo Group, who joined in 2001, and then I would say probably globally there was like 60 or 70 companies. So a lot of them have been there for a long time, and then of course we have the Swedish network since 2018. So they joined before us, you could even say. But now we try to bring business together and push the agenda even more.
And I think if I can add to that, I think the answer lies very much in what Vida said, that this goes very much hand in hand with the values of many Swedish companies. And if you take the Volvo Group as an example, we already in 1972 started to talk about environmental issues and how we actually were impacting the environment in a negative way, and that we wanted to take responsibility. So it's more than 50 years ago since we started to talk about some of these sustainability issues. So I think it fits very well with our way of operating.
Thank you very much. I see that most of the people stay with us, so it seems to be really interesting discussion here, and thank you again for sharing such valuable insights on the Swedish market. So if there are not many questions now, and yeah, probably there might be some also at the end, we could continue with our Bulgarian colleagues with UN Global Compact Bulgaria, Telelink, and EU Impact in the next sessions. So please stay with us. At the end, we are going to open the floor again. Okay, so Darinka, please go ahead, and you could share also now the Bulgarian business perspective on sustainability. I would share the slides in the meantime.
Thank you. I knew that there is a discrepancy between the Swedish and Bulgarian perspective, and that's why actually we made this call and sharing. But it's my pleasure to present you how actually the Global Compact Network Bulgaria operate here and what we try to do together with our companies. What I first want to really interfere and to say is that we are really trying to speak to our companies here that the Global Compact and sustainability, not really ESG, but sustainability is actually a concept of ethics, of responsibility, of values, but it can also be the winning strategy. And here it is how this can happen. Actually, the global, if you can change the slide, Neda. This is the vision of the Global Compact worldwide that we also share here in Bulgaria. And you can see that it says ambition. It's not only compliance, it is following the 10 principles of responsible business conduct, but it means that we have to really have high aspirations and more ambitions. And SDGs are our North Star, where we all want to go, being very accountable and conscious. Also, the next slide, please. You can see that the Bulgarian Society of the Global Compact participants is rather small, maybe not that small relatively to the economy here. We have 50 plus participants really planning to grow our family, but from many different sectors. And we have some of the very heaviest sectors here, like energy, mining, utilities, construction, but we also have banks, pharmaceuticals, energy, really very high intensive sectors, also software and computers. And what we have here is very much the society in Bulgaria, but we also have the richness of being able to work with companies from all Europe that are part of the Global Compact. I would share a few, one slide with some recent European study that Bulgaria joined. We don't have our national survey on the SDGs, but the Global Compact Bulgaria joined the European study, how actually the European companies embrace the SDGs. And on this slide, you can see that 77% of European companies, this survey actually was conducted, was led by France and encompasses 10 countries. So it's quite representative, but 77% of them think that SDGs have helped them gain a competitive advantage. And 70% of them know the SDGs. In Bulgaria, this percentage is rather lower, it's 50, but many of them have integrated the SDGs in the strategy. And some interesting data is that 87% of the companies concerned by the new European regulation and CSRD will use the SDG in their reporting. In Bulgaria, this percentage is not low, again, it's 72. The interesting perspective is actually which are the goals, which goals are important for Europe and which one are important for particularly for Bulgaria. And for Europe, it is decent labor, equality and climate change, top 3. And Bulgaria, it's good governance and anti-corruption. Good health and poverty alleviation, really the top 3. So there is a difference in the perspective and in the problems that our country is facing. So also the need for the business to take. I would use the chance to convey some of the messages that our teams with the survey shared with the audience. And it is one of the main key messages is that we have about 6, maybe 5 years still to reach the SDGs. It's on the next slide. And Agenda 2030 is something that we have commonly agreed. It seems that we are not going to achieve it, but it doesn't have to discourage us and stop our action if we really want to live in good societies. And the recommendations for businesses that they should integrate the SDGs into their activities. They should enhance communication on SDGs, have measurable indicators and set higher standards, and also do include their suppliers on the issues with SDGs. Of course, have higher partnerships, stronger partnerships, and strengthen the articulation actually between the SDGs and the financial investment, which is actually the business case. What is the business case? Because currently most of the companies, although they have high values and high ethics, there always should be a business case why to act on SDGs or on sustainability. And on the next slide are some of the main the next one, some of the main points for us in Bulgaria if our companies want to be sustainable and winning at the same time. The first one is competitive advantage. I heard this also for the Swedish companies. There is a lot of potential. It's not only costs and efforts, but the companies that are brave enough to transform their business models, they could be really more competitive. Of course, they would reduce costs, maybe not in the beginning, but later on, and they will have very good risk management, which is quite important. A reputation and strong brand is something very important for our companies here. Meeting the regulation is absolutely immediate issue that companies have to do here, and the Global Compact can help the companies do this. Important issues for the Bulgarian Bulgarian companies is access to financings, because currently actually all the banks require this information, and there is no way that you operate without having this sustainability points. Can you have the next slide? So why would you join actually the Global Compact and the Bulgarian network? Because the Bulgarian network is your partner on the ground. Of course, Global Compact is global, but you have to have somebody to work with, peers, companies, society, and to learn and talk to. And we are here as a business network to support the sustainability efforts with really a lot of platforms, with giving visibility and recognition, and a lot of training and tools. I will share a few of them very, very briefly. If anyone is interested, we can talk about later on. Next one. We also, besides the global programs, meeting the local problems and issue, we have developed a lot of local initiatives that help the Bulgarian business. Let's say one of them is the needs problem, or the gap between education and business. Maybe the Nordic countries don't have this problem, but in Bulgaria it's quite huge. So we have developed a project which is called Professions Fair. It's coming at the end of this month, where we meet young people with the companies in order to inspire them and have to acquire the better education. Just one of the examples. I won't be explaining all of them. So if you can put the next slide, just to have a glimpse of the impact. It's a huge event that you can join us at the end of the month and see how you can work with young people who are the future workforce. The next slides, we'll just go briefly very much through them, just to show you how much resources the Global Compact has, and how much of this we also adapt and develop further in Bulgaria to address the local market and company needs. On the next slide, yeah. The global one is really impressive academy, UN Global Compact, who is currently giving access to all of the employees of all of the Global Compact participants. So you can have a lot of learning also on beginners level, but on deep dive with practitioners and also meeting peers from a lot of companies. Next one, please. Here is one tool that I'm very delighted to use every time. It's the regular communication on progress required by all the companies. Actually, it was the non-financial and sustainability reporting, which was introduced by the Global Compact back in 2005, long before the European Commission, which would give the transparency. But currently, what is important is that this tool, which is used by all of the participants of the Global Compact, and it's obligatory, it's very much aligned with the European directives, and the ones actually who are using this tool can be very well prepared for what is already here and what is already coming under the CSRD and CSDDD. Just recently we had on the next slide, it's a discussion how exactly this matching can be done, and we have this tool to help you match the reporting standards, because usually the SDGs and the Global Compact, they are the reference frameworks that are incorporated in the EU Sustainable Reporting Directive and all the agenda, and they're at the core of the new directives. On the next slide, I will just briefly say that on top of the global training resources, we have developed with our colleagues local frameworks and more personalized trainings for reporting, for human rights, and further on to our companies, that they can be ready to transform their business models and also to meet the European regulation requirements. Also, for very, very advanced ones, on the next two slides, we have two accelerators. One is on the SDGs, the other ones are on the human rights. So everyone who wants to join us, of course, you should be a Global Compact participants. You can do it. On the next slide is the human rights. These are just guiding slides. There is no further info here, but you can ask us. And besides the accelerators, the one thing that will be developed is the EU gateway on our academy that will help with a lot of resources and peer learning groups. So I think this is more or less from us. On the next slide, this is for SMEs, a special program which smaller and medium-sized companies need, but you can really join us on this journey and talk to a lot of peers and companies, and you'll hear the next example from one of our participants that we are very proud, a Bulgarian company with a lot of already advanced sustainability agenda. Thank you, anyone.
Thank you very much, Darinka. It is really impressive, the work that you are doing here on the Bulgarian market to educate and to help Bulgarian companies to join the global community and the global standards. Yes, really, we are very happy to partner with you as Connect Nordics community. And also we would encourage our members also to become members of UN Global Compact Bulgaria if they would like further to extend their knowledge and access to all these materials, education and startup and financing programs. Next is actually an example of how ESG and CSR practices come live into Bulgarian companies. Daniela Sokolova from Tailor Business Services will share their path and their achievements in this direction, especially in CSR. Please, Daniela, the floor is yours. I'll share the presentation in the meanwhile.
Yes, thank you, Neda. Thank you for this event. Thank you, Darinka, for inviting me. And I'd like to make disclosure. We've started 15 years after Volvo, so take us some credit. Give us some credit, actually. So let's go to the next slide directly. We are Telling Business Services Group. We are Bulgarian technology company. We are founded 23 years ago. In 2018, the original Tellink split logically into 4 companies, one for each major line of business, and this is how Tellink Business Services was born. Today, we are a public company listed on the Bulgarian Stock Exchange. We provide scalable services easily integrated with any organization in the field of IT infrastructure and cybersecurity. We believe that life is complex enough and the technologies are here to simplify the complex and to make our business journey smoother, smarter, and more secure. On the next slide, you will see our client coverage across 45 countries. 45 countries. Our headquarters is in Bulgaria, in Sofia, and we have offices in 8 countries. On the next slide, please. First, we hear about ESG in 2019, and we started with exploring the UN Sustainability Development Goals, and we become very interested to find a way to contribute for their achievement. And this was an overwhelming process because at that time, no one in Bulgaria was talking about ESG or SDG, and no one understood it. We tried to engage the young audience at several events, but when we started talking about sustainability, the whole thing went over their head. And we understood that the business in Bulgaria was immature at that time regarding ESG sustainability. And we decided to go slower and to focus on the only 4 SDGs. And in 2021, we managed to release our first ESG charter. Then in 2023, we made a strategy for 2030 that address 11 main SDGs. But this is a huge step, and to ensure the proper execution of this 2030 strategy, we struck a short strategy, more like a plan for 24th, and its execution is still in progress now. In the beginning of 25th, we will wrap up what we have done in 24th, and we will outline the strategy and the plan for 25th. In year 24th, it looked like we need to be prepared for reporting under the CSRD, and we develop our own methodology for calculation of our footprint. Preparing our strategy, we did ask ourselves many questions. Are you ready for this journey? What are we having now? Or what we need to have in the near future? And the most important question, what sustainability means for us? Telling Business Services is a project-based, process-oriented organization. This optimize our resources and increase our delivery capacity. We have risk-based thinking incorporated in all decision-making process at all operational levels. We have compliance mindset. We are certified against 8 ISO standards. The social responsibility is part from us from the very beginning, 23 years ago, but still, what else? And Neda, please give me the next slide. That's how we form our sustainability vision. We believe that sustainability can be part of a company's success only if it's part of a company's culture. For us, the culture of sustainability are part of the elements of corporate social responsibility, compliance, transparency, protection of people's health, includes purely business aspects at the first glance, like risk-based thinking, business process management, quality of the service, customer satisfaction, and business continuity, of course. We could not talk about sustainability as culture if the business sustainability and the business resilience is not ensured in all its aspects. And next, please. In life, in business, everything is a matter of perspective and horizon. And that's why in this year, in the beginning of this year, we decided to become member of UN Global Compact, Bulgarian network. This membership broadens our horizon and gives us different perspective from which to look at the way we do business, the goals we set for ourselves, and the methods by which we achieve them. Because it's no longer important what you've achieved. It's becoming increasingly important how you achieve it, what you have learned during the way, and who you've helped grow with you. This is my belief. And please give me the next slide. How we manage this? We have a governance, risk, and compliance team that is dedicated to, obviously, governance, risk, and compliance. And this team is direct report to the CEO. I'm always highlighting that the very existence of my team is a testimony to the maturity of our company. Very few organizations, in my opinion, have dedicated team to look after process, and even fewer of them, those teams are direct reports to a CEO. I believe that in addition to being a sign of maturity, is also an element of the successful management. My team is responsible as well for the governance of the sustainability related process, and all team members plus few colleagues from finance, HR, and digital transformation teams have achieved a certificate for sustainability manager. The sustainability comes from inside, from within, and this is why it's very important such kind of special certifications, trainings, and learning opportunities to be available for all employees. And now at this moment we have 12 certified sustainability managers in the company. Last year we established an ESG working group. This group is responsible for collecting ideas, organizing and facilitating all internal initiatives, and helping the GRC team with the reporting. Our concept is to create initiatives which can involve all employees and give us an opportunity to participate with our own work and to invest in our personal time and effort. This creates satisfaction, this builds sense of belonging, and all these are components of culture, and this is how we build and nurture our sustainability culture. In 2024, until now, we have organized and executed more than 20 initiatives in various directions: cybersecurity, women in tech, hazardous waste reduction, collaboration with schools, universities, social centers for social services, internal, external, short-term, long-term, all kinds of initiatives. I didn't count the initiatives organized by someone else that we have participated in. And we are driven by the belief that once we decided to stay and live in Bulgaria, it's our own duty to make our country a better place to live, to help improve education, to help improve the social and the working environment. And this, of course, means to face challenges and to try to see also their opportunity side. Neda, please give me next slide. As a service provider, we look at the value chain from two perspectives. In order to provide quality service that is also secure and resilient, we must ensure that our suppliers are secure and resilient. And this is how it works. And here is the real challenge. We usually work with global vendors like Microsoft, Dell, Cisco, etc. And fortunately, they are mature enough, and we learn a lot from them. But we see the lack of maturity and awareness in Bulgaria, and we see this more as an opportunity to develop training programs and models for our partners, customers, and non-global suppliers. One of our initiatives is called Cyber Nest. It includes cybersecurity and sustainability and resilience trainings for our supply chain. The other perspective is our customer's perspective, from whom we are a trusted supplier. To be trusted supplier, we must not only manage our supply chain, but also make sure we always have the resources to meet our customers' needs. And this is quite a challenge for the IT industry, at least in Bulgaria. And that is why, Neda, please go next. That is why in 2021, we established the TBS Academy. One academy cycle is with 6 months duration. It's free for all participants. Even more, after the first trimester, the participants need to pass few exams. This is exams for engineers, of course, and those who pass the exams, they started to receive scholarship for the second trimester. And in 23, 25 of all trainees were hired in different TBSG teams, and they still work with us. And the last slide is very short. This is an emotional one. I just want to share with you our partnership with SOS Children's Villages Bulgaria. This is a project for education, continuous learning, and integration. And we'll start with an open doors event next week that will include training and mentorship sessions. Then we will have some events around Christmas, and we will continue next year with training sessions, etc. So the next slide says, thank you.
Thank you very much, Daniela. Also very interesting, and I'm happy that there are Bulgarian companies that are setting the standards, that are going in this direction, even if it's not that easy, it's not that popular, but especially this was very important also about the education of the employees and all the academies that you have run. This is great, and I would encourage our community also to get in contact with you, probably to discuss how you have achieved all this. I would also, as we are a bit behind our schedule, directly invite Iskra Yovkova from U-Impact. She's also very active into helping Bulgarian companies to go into this direction of sustainability, ESG, CSR. And Iskra has been a speaker many times to our events. And thank you again, Iskra, for joining this event and taking the invite and the challenge to present last. But I'm happy that most of the people are still with us, so stay with Iskra. She has some also quite interesting insights to share about the development recently on the Bulgarian market and how U-Impact is helping companies.
Thank you, Neda. I will be really short. I'm thrilled to be part of this event. It was quite inspiring and meaningful, and I'm really happy for the opportunity. My name is Iskra Yovkova. I'm part of the team of U-Impact. U-Impact was created with the initiative and the support of a Dutch impact investment fund and with the mission to support the business to start implementing sustainable practices, to manage sustainable aspects, to disclose sustainable aspects, but also to identify, manage, and communicate impact as per the Sustainable Development Goals. So I'm really, really happy here to be here in such a good company with the UN Global Compact. So today I will be focusing, we can change the slides. I will be focusing on, I'll be very short. And just to close this event, to look more from the practical perspective, what we see from our clients, real market examples, mainly from the Bulgarian markets, about the push towards sustainability that they observe, what are the main challenges, and very few practical advice how to approach, what are the good first steps to start. So we all agree that it's no longer nice to have sustainability awareness. Now it's a must. And as it was heard many times today, it does improve chances to get funding. It does improve chances to attract talent, especially with Gen Zs and millennials. And it's quite important to enter sustainability-aware markets such as the Nordics. So next slide. We heard quite good and inspirational, great stories about the companies that the awareness comes from within, and how connected financial viability is with sustainability. However, I'm going to focus from external factors that pushing the business towards sustainability, to put sustainability in the focus. And of course, what's most crucial for a business is the financial viability. And what we see, a good share of our clients were actually motivated and strongly motivated, so to say, to perform a sustainability assessment by their investors. Another part were preparing for fundraising. And that's the reality now, and that would be the reality in Europe in the coming years, as what we currently see is just a bit below 50% of the funds in EU currently consider sustainability in some way, but at the same time, not in numbers, if we look at the assets under management, we see that over 60% of the assets under management at the end of 2023 were, so to say, ESG connected, there were ESG considerations. The dark pink that you see, it's actually impact-driven investment. Those of assets under management of funds that are entirely tying their investment strategy with impact. And then in 2027, almost 75% of all assets under management in the EU are expected to be connected with sustainability in some way. So next slide. Another quite important, again, financially related aspect is the client-driven push towards sustainability. We all know about the regulations. They've been quite in the public environment recently. Every month here in Sofia, we get a ESG event discussing the upcoming regulations. However, it's not something new that the Bulgarian business was already met sustainability disclosure requirements. It's a great example from TBS. We saw they've already reporting for EcoVadis, and so are above 130,000 companies worldwide. So before the regulations, what will come to the business would be the volunteer frameworks, if it hasn't already. So my recommendation is to be prepared, and even for the companies that are not yet within the scope of any regulatory requirement, not to be too relaxed, because there might be customer-related requests. Next one. But then those requests now coming from companies, like thousands of companies which are reporting under volunteer frameworks, from next year will be coming from companies which are obliged by European law to disclose. Those would be more than 50,000 businesses in EU. For Sweden, those would be at least 1,400, I think, which are the large in terms of employees. But if we take the boundaries, the financial boundaries that are determining the scope of the companies, the size of the type of companies reporting, some estimate says that more than 2,000, close to 3,000 companies in Sweden might be reporting. Valid statistic, those are estimates, but you can gain a good comprehension of the effect that would have on any company that would like to do business in Sweden. The directive, I will not focus, we don't have time, but we already have 12 obligatory standards and with 82 disclosures and more than 1,100 data points. Part of these data disclosures and standards concern the value chain of the companies, part concern scope 3 reporting of companies, which immediately means that all companies that want to work with the large business in Europe should be ready and should get started to prepare to report on those. However, on the next slide, we can see that there are substantial challenges that companies are already facing. We already heard, I mean, all those were mentioned so far today. Don't have much time, but I would really reiterate the challenge to identify the data within the company, the challenge to collect all the data across the value chain, and that was I was really speechless from what I heard from Karen with that scope and volume of partner network. It's amazing. However, especially for companies at the beginning, which are not Volvo Group at the beginning of their journey, that's the main issue, and that I believe would require most resources, both financial and operational. Another risk is already mentioned growing customer demands. And they're expanding not only because there are more and more frameworks that the business needs to report on, to remain preferred provider, to remain competitive, to preserve its competitiveness. But also the scope of demand is expanding. More and more companies actually want to require information on the environmental footprint on product level, on the carbon footprint on product level. So it's no longer enough just to consider the footprint on a company-based scale, but the information, the data needed is becoming more and more granular, and that's putting more pressure on the business, especially if they lack the experience, the knowledge, or the resource. Just to mention what we disclose, it's not, it's important, it's regulated. Greenwashing is now a crime in the EU as of this year, so the pressure is mounting. And in the resources I mentioned are substantial, financial, in terms of finance, operational, time. You see what big the Telelink Business Services, how much resource they're dedicating, and what knowledge they've built up, but that takes time, and that takes resource. So where to start if we have to? It's next slide. So what to do if we have limited resources? We need to start as soon as possible, even if we don't, even if the company doesn't have a specific request from a customer, or is not within the scope of the regulations, or is not pushed by investors yet. The sooner, the better. That would mean longer time to prepare, to assess, and to analyze. And I will. It should be looked holistically. It's an investment in the success of the company. It's not just obligations and just the negative side. It's actually the sooner the company starts, the more the better prepared it will be to handle the risks, to take advantage of the opportunities, and to maximize positive impact and minimize negative. If we have to choose, if you have to choose the minimum aspects, I would, I mean, if you're quite small company, I would say carbon footprint, suppliers, policies and code of conduct, own workforce policies and quality of work, and diversity and inclusion, and then not last but quite important, ethical business conduct, anti-corruption. That would be the and data security. That would be the minimum. On the next slide, you can see, I will not go through all this, but these are the, let's say, the focus, the top priorities that investors are looking into in terms of sustainability topics. And again, that one I missed in the previous slide, but that's quite important. Energy efficiency, resource consumption, that's in the top aspects that should be considered, of course, depending on the sector of the company. But however, you can see all the topics that are important for the business. And on the last slide, just 10 brief, really steps how to approach. First one, assessment, what's there, what's missing, gap analysis, and then impacts, risks, and opportunities. All regulations, frameworks, strategies, everything evolves and revolves around impacts, risks, and opportunities. So that's the first step, that really the company should see what's material for the business. Where is the biggest risk? Where is the biggest opportunity? How to handle it, and how to optimize the second. And what is the impact of the company? Then where is the data? Set the process for the data on the value chain. It will not happen immediately, but the sooner the better. Develop the policy house, step by step, requirement by requirement, mapping the stakeholders. Now it's no longer a game for one. Now businesses should involve their stakeholders, and they should know what their stakeholders think, and work with the value chain. The bigger, the sooner the company should start. The employees, of course. And then look ahead, develop a strategy, set targets, indicators, engage all the universe around the business of suppliers, customers, community, and communicate good practices. But most importantly, start now. Thank you.
Thank you, Iskra. So now you know already, if you need to start and you wonder where to start from, you know who to contact. So Iskra is doing this on daily basis, helping companies, especially on the assessment part, and then on the implementation. So thank you, Iskra, and to all of our wonderful speakers today. Thank you for making this event so interesting, and for sharing such valuable information to our members, friends, and partners. So just to say at the end that if you would like also to connect with some of our members, you could actually go to our connectnordics.com site, register an expert profile, and get in touch with most of the people in our community. This is why we are actually making this platform. It's a digital community, so we try to be really kind of digital and allow actually connection between the markets. And of course, thank you everyone that stayed until the end with us. Hope that it was interesting. And still we have